Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Cruz and welcome back to another video. Special day today. It's new guitar day. Let's get it. So here it is, a Schecter, believe it or not, a Schecter Nick Johnston. This is not their American model, this is the Indonesian model, which is really great. I mean, it's got some really cool features to it. This is literally the first time I'm seeing it. I just unboxed it. I'm still trying to take it all in. So this guitar was actually gifted to me. This is not a sponsored video in any kind of way, but it was gifted to me by a very special person in my life, and I appreciate them so much for doing this. And I don't know, it's kind of an unusual guitar, to be honest with you. When looking for guitars nowadays, I tend to stick to more vintage style instruments, not necessarily purchasing vintage instruments because they're very expensive, but vintage style made instruments. And now though this guitar has sort of a vintage look to it, it is far from that. It is actually quite modern, and I think the name on the headstock should probably give that away. I was actually a massive fan of Schecter guitars, and I used them almost exclusively for a long period of time back in my hard rock early metal days. I've owned an Omen 6, I've owned 2 of their C1 classics. One of my favorite guitars of all time was a C1 Plus. I even owned one of their Flying V looking ones, which was kind of odd and almost rare. I kind of wish I still had it because it was such a unique guitar. In fact, I wish I had all of my Schecter guitars. And truth be told, I've always loved the Schecter builds. They were a little modern for my personal taste nowadays, so I was worried this guitar wouldn't fit my needs. But let's go over some of the specs here that are quite different, but then again, intriguing for me. So one of the things that you notice taking it right out of the box and just touching the neck is the neck itself, right? It is a roasted maple neck, which is something that really attracted me, but that radius is not vintage, to say the least. In fact, it is more almost thin or flat feeling, and it has this kind of weird contour to it that's obviously catered to whatever Nick Johnston's needs were, and almost surprising because he seems to be like a kind of a big dude, and his hands are probably large, but yet he seems to favor a relatively small neck. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. It makes you play a little bit different, and I like that. I never owned a guitar with the adjustments here at the bottom with that accessible adjustment, so that's really attractive to me. Clearly, it's not your typical Strat configuration. It's an HSS, meaning humbucker single coil. I like the saddle. It's a 2-pin saddle, and I do like the vibrato bar as opposed to just popping it in or screwing it on like a typical Strat. You actually use an Allen key to loosen up this peg that's in there, and then you tighten it to your preference. Very, very cool, because I've always struggled with Strat style tremolo bars because of that. And the biggest thing about this is, though it has a 5-way switch selector, it only has a volume and tone knob. Typically, your Strat style setups like this have a volume, tone. And therefore now, because there's only 2 knobs versus 3, it now pushes the volume knob a little further down, so you're not running into it as easily as you would on a typical Strat. One of my biggest struggles with Strat style guitars has been the placement of the input jack. Typically you'd see it directly on the body itself, and on this guitar it resembles where you would typically have your input jack on a modern guitar or a Les Paul or even a Telecaster. So I like that a lot, because for me, having the input jack on the face of the guitar got in the way. Even with my other Strat that I have back there, I wasn't even able to fully spin the tremolo bar onto the guitar while my input jack was in. I would have to unplug that. And sometimes if the tremolo bar was too loose, it would actually smack into my 1/4-inch cable, and you could hear it through my pedal board and my entire rig. So that in itself makes this guitar kind of worth it already. But now that we've gone over the specs that I could visibly see here, the most important part is, what does it sound like? For the sake of demo purposes, we're going to start off by kind of going through all of the pickup positions and really getting a feel of what this guitar sounds like and feels like to my hands and ears. Let's start off with the neck pickup. I'm going to have everything wide open, meaning the volume and tone. I'm not going to touch that right now. I'm just going to see what it sounds like. Now I will say this, it's very cold where I am, and I feel like the guitar is still getting a little bit acclimated, so it's a little funky in the tuning, but I don't think it has to do with the guitar. It really does feel like it's adjusting to the room. Yeah, so please be forgiving in that respect. Let's move on to position 2 on the pickup selector. That's combining the neck pickup and the middle pickup. This is the most important pickup position for me personally, especially because it's a humbucker single coil. So if it's not capturing that stratty tone, then I'm not sure this guitar is going to suit my needs. So let's hear what that sounds like. So a couple of things I want to point out before we move on here. It is a different kind of guitar for me right now. I'm having a little bit of a tough time adjusting fully, but that doesn't mean the guitar is not playable or it's not great. You know, oddly enough, the neck is totally smooth, and it's not finished in any kind of way, and I actually prefer that. But there's something about it that's almost too smooth. I'm finding myself slipping. It's supposed to be what, you know, the people are calling a fast neck. So I guess I can tell why people are calling it that, because you can just glide through the neck, but I'm not used to it. It's just, I'm used to a little more friction than that. So it's a little odd to get used to. But I do love the tones that I'm getting so far through my pedal board. And I also really like the tremolo bar. There's something very sweet about it and musical about it. Sometimes I have a hard time adjusting to the Strat ones because I'm so used to the Bigsby's, and they're just a little more forgiving. But this one seems to be almost as forgiving as a Bigsby, and I like that. Let's move on to the neck pickup. This is the neck pickup totally by itself. I really like that. There's something very pretty about that, very mid-range, punchy. Obviously, that's what the middle neck should somewhat sound like, but sometimes I feel like Strats miss the mark with that mid-range punch, and that one seems to be doing pretty well. Let's go to that 4 position. Now, typically the 4 position is a position I like using on Strats, but this one's going to be a little bit different because instead of combining the middle single coil and a bridge single coil, it's going to be a single coil on the middle and a humbucker on the bridge. So I'm not too sure what this is going to sound like. I kind of dig that sound. There's something a little more fuller about it than your typical Strat would be, obviously because it's a humbucker that's involved and not just 2 single coils. So very interesting. Let's move on to the bridge. Very, very cool. I mean, that's a humbucker pickup. One thing I will say about the current setup is that it's very even. So that's one reason why I wouldn't want to tamper with these pickups right now, because I feel like going from neck to middle to bridge has been really seamless. I'm not getting these like, oh, that doesn't go together. These pickups were well balanced and made well together to suit their, you know, each other's tones, and I really like that. I'm gonna quickly add some reverb and delay to see what other tones I can get out of this thing and see if I can get it to sound more like what I do here on a weekly basis. I have to sit with this guitar for a little while longer to see if it's gonna take that spot on the wall for me. But the more and more I hear it, the more and more it sounds really special. I don't know, I'm starting to dig it now. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's as, admittedly so, this is a little bit more of a first impressions unboxing. I may need to do a part 2 to this video where I can actually give you a little bit more, I don't know, just be a little more confident behind this instrument so I could showcase it a little bit better. The neck, it's almost like, I don't know, I've never played anything like it. So if you are looking for like the fastest neck, you know how people say, oh, it's the fastest neck I've ever played. Legit, this is the fastest neck. Like, you're gliding on this thing. It doesn't make you play faster, but it just means you can get there very, very quickly, and it's just so smooth. There's zero friction. I've never played anything like it. It's very odd. It's very hard to get used to. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section on this guitar. What do you think it sounds like? Ultimately, it's actually for you guys because I don't gig out as much anymore. I'm really focusing on the growth of this channel week in and week out. So really, I want a Strat style guitar that I could play more on this channel, and I want to make sure that you guys approve. So let me know your thoughts if you think I should keep it or maybe continue the Strat search. And yeah, it would be greatly appreciated. Feel free to do the other things that help this channel grow. Like this video, hit the bell notification icon so you get an alert every single time I upload a video. Check out some of the affiliate links in the description box below as well. You can also click on that PayPal link, which will give you the opportunity to donate to the channel directly if you choose to do so. Thank you all so much again for watching, and until next week.